Equals the sun was beginning its descent over Sunset Bay, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, like splattered paint across a canvas. I stood on my porch, cradling a warm mug of chamomile tea in my hands, the steam curling up towards my face and catching the light just right. I took a deep breath, allowing the familiar sense of the ocean and damp earth to mingle in my lungs, reminding me that this was home. But as calming as that moment should have been, a tension simmered just beneath the surface, coiling around my heart like the storm clouds that sometimes rolled in from the sea. I was not a woman prone to daydreams, yet here I stood, thinking about nothing but revenge. The thought was a bitter pill to swallow, and yet it was a reality I had to confront every day since the event that changed everything for me. I could hear my neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, rattling around in her garden, fussing over her prize-winning azaleas. She was always so busy, her hands full with the plants she seemed to love more than people. I used to adore those plants too, but everything felt different now. I peeked over the edge of my porch, trying to gauge whether Mrs. Henderson was in one of her chatty moods. But there it was, a frayed edge of loneliness, that nagging sense that everything had transformed while I lay stagnant in my own grief. "Leela," she called, looking up from a particularly stubborn weed she was wrestling with. "You coming over for some lemonade today?" I plastered on a smile and waved her off. "Not today, Mrs. H," I called back, forcing cheer into my voice, though my stomach twisted at the thought of facing her kindness when I was filled with such dark thoughts. "Just enjoying the sunset." She squinted towards me, her brow furrowed with concern, but I turned my back, not wanting to see the pity in her eyes. I didn't want pity. I had learned that pity had a way of making things worse, turning simple interactions into awkward conversations about loss and grief. Instead, I focused on the way the last rays of sunlight caught the surface of the water, giving it a golden shimmer that was almost magical, despite the storm brewing inside me. This was how it had been since that day, the day everything shifted in my world. The day Ben walked out, leaving nothing but silence in his wake. I thought I knew him, believed in us, but he had made a mockery of my trust. With every tick of the clock, he took pieces of me with him, leaving jagged edges where my heart had lived. I traced my fingers along those edges now, feeling the pain, cringing at the memory. Had it really been only a year since he stormed out, like a summer storm that arrived with no warning, lashing the coast with rain, then disappearing just as quickly, leaving mud and wreckage behind? "Leela, dear, are you all right?" Mrs. Henderson's voice broke through the haze of my memories. I turned back, her worry etched across her face like deep lines in an old map. She wasn't wrong to ask. I felt like I was a house on a cliff, sturdy enough, but ready to tumble into the sea at a moment's notice. "Yes, just lost in thought," I replied, forcing my lips into what I hoped was a reassuring smile. "You know how it is when you have too much time on your hands." She nodded slowly, still unconvinced but willing to let it go for now. "All right then, but do come over later. I made extra lemonade." "Sure thing, Mrs. Henderson. I will see you later." I turned back towards my house, the door creaking slightly as I pushed it open, the familiar sound transporting me back to countless afternoons spent inside, cocooned in my safe space, but that feeling now seemed somehow foreign. I wandered into the kitchen, the smell of chamomile lingering as I rinsed the mug and set it aside. I needed to focus, to harness the anger and loss that had been building inside me like a tidal wave ready to crash. I gazed out the window, the water now glowing under the dimming light, waves lapping rhythmically against the shore. That soothing sound almost seemed to mock me, reminding me of the calm I had lost. "What would you do?" I whispered to no one in particular, leaning against the counter. My hands clasped together tightly, a desperate act of trying to contain the storm within. "What would you do if you had a chance to make it right?" Moments passed in heavy silence, the kind that felt like quicksand, sucking me lower into the depths of my thoughts. Then I remembered the card tucked away in the small drawer beside the refrigerator. I let out a bitter laugh, considering how one small piece of cardboard could hold the answer to so much pain. With a sudden burst of energy, I strode to the drawer and yanked it open, the wood groaning in surprise. There it was, a neatly folded, weathered card, a reminder of the day everything shattered. I could almost feel the heat from the anger radiating off it as I fished it out. "Leela Carter, please meet with Ben Howard on Wednesday," I read aloud, the name burning into my tongue like acid. "Work matters." My jaw clenched, and my vision blurred as the memories crashed back. Ben's charming smile, his easy laugh, the way his blue eyes would sparkle when he spoke about his dreams. He had a way of making me believe in a future that was now nothing but a cruel joke. I crumpled the card in my fist, my heart racing as I paced the kitchen, a lion trapped in a cage. And now he thinks he can just waltz back into my life after all he did, after he shattered everything. I felt the weight of 1,000 thoughts rattling in my head, the grief mingling with something far darker, a fire igniting within me. I needed a plan, something that would allow me to regain the power he had stolen from me. The clinking of glass in the cupboard startled me, jolting me back to the present. It was Mrs. Henderson's voice filtering in again, mixing with the crash of the waves outside. "Leela, are you okay in there? You seem upset." Just fine," I called out, my voice betraying my attempts to maintain composure. I could feel the sharp edges of my fury almost transforming into something tangible, a weapon that would strike back when the time was right. "I'll be over shortly." I shoved the card back into the drawer, taking one last deep breath before stepping outside. The air felt different, charged with electricity. I walked towards Mrs. Henderson, determination taking hold of me. "Mrs. Henderson," I said, forcing sincerity into my voice, "I appreciate your offer. I think I could use some lemonade." "Oh, good. Come, sit with me." She gestured toward a weathered wicker chair on her porch, already filled with bright cushions adorned with flowers. I settled into the chair, the cushion warm beneath me as she disappeared into her house. A few moments later, she returned with 2 tall glasses filled with lemonade, the condensation dripping down the sides and splattering onto the porch floor. "Here you go, dear," she said, placing a glass in my hands. "It's extra sweet, just how you like it." I raised the glass to my lips, letting the tangy sweetness hit my tongue, but I found it hard to concentrate on the refreshing drink. My thoughts were still racing. I glanced towards Mrs. Henderson, noticing the way the sun hit her silver hair, making it glow like the ocean, her kindness radiating like the warmth surrounding us. I thought briefly about how I used to share everything with Ben, how he would laugh and joke over lemonade just like this. The contrast now was sickening, the memories intertwined with betrayal. "Leela, dear, are you sure you are all right?" Mrs. Henderson prodded gently, eyes searching mine for answers she would never find. "Yes, just a lot on my mind," I promised, the smile feeling more like a mask with each passing second. "I know how difficult it is to navigate life when it feels heavy, filled with burdens. My husband left me years ago, you know. It can shatter you." She offered me a glimpse into her own heart, a bittersweet moment that forged a connection between us. "Yeah, it does," I replied quietly, the bond warming my chest, but only fueling my anger towards the man who had become my source of despair. I learned that embracing the good in life, even the smallest things, can help heal those wounds over time. "Oh, I'm sure," I said, forcing a nonchalant shrug, but my mind was already building walls around her words. Because my wounds were still fresh, and I shivered at the thought of time without action, without a semblance of retribution. Just then, the sky shifted, the clouds rolling in like dark thoughts across a canvas once bright. My heart raced as I felt the impending storm mirroring the tempest within me. The waves crashed harder against the shore, and I was filled with the undeniable need to act. "It looks like trouble is coming," Mrs. Henderson remarked, glancing upward as the distant rumble of thunder reached my ears, echoing the storm in my heart. "We should head inside, dear." "Yeah, let's." We moved into her cozy living room, filled with the scents of fresh fabric and citrus candles. The walls were adorned with pictures of her family, and I couldn't help but envy her ability to create something beautiful from the ashes of her past. I thought about how she not only survived but thrived, a testament that anger could transform into something fruitful, a place where healing began. As I sat on the plush sofa, I considered my own path. The jagged edges of my heart needed tending, but I needed something to quench the thirst for revenge first. As Mrs. Henderson chattered about her latest gardening victories, my mind drifted back to Ben and the card stashed away quietly growing stale in the drawer. A fire ignited within me, a sense of purpose that dawned amidst the storm. "This storm," I said abruptly, interrupting Mrs. Henderson mid-sentence. "It feels like a sign." "What do you mean, dear?" she asked, pausing to look at me, concern lingering behind her eyes. "It feels like the perfect moment for change." "Change can be daunting, Leela," she said cautiously, "but storms can also wash away the old, allowing for new growth." "Yes," I breathed, the realization hitting me this was my moment. I could feel it coursing through my veins, a surge of energy that pushed me to act. "It is time for me to take that leap." Mrs. Henderson tilted her head slightly, studying me. You have to do what feels right for you, my dear. And I knew what felt right. I would reclaim my life, no matter the cost. Each drop of rain that hit the window was a promise. Each crash of thunder a reminder that this storm was just the beginning. I glanced out at the wild sky, dark and unyielding, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of clarity. I had been weathered, but I had not broken. This was only the beginning. Darkness only beamed brighter when illuminated by the light of revenge. And I could feel it rising within me. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden hue over Sunset Bay, and as the light faded, so did my resolve. I stood on my front porch, staring out at the waves lapping at the shore, their gentle rhythm mocking the tempest brewing inside me. It was 2 days since I had discovered the betrayal, 2 days since my world had been irrevocably turned upside down. I could still feel the lingering heat of anger coursing through my veins, a fire that refused to dim despite the encroaching twilight. I wanted revenge, not just for me, but for all the broken promises that would never be fulfilled again. Leela, the sound of my mother's voice jolted me from my dark reverie. Are you coming in? Dinner is getting cold. Her voice was laced with concern, and I knew that she could sense the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. I inhaled deeply, catching a whiff of her famous chicken casserole mixed with something sweet, maybe cookies, baking in the oven, delicious smells wafting towards me. But I couldn't allow myself to be distracted, not now. I turned slowly, forcing a smile, as if to reassure her that everything was fine, but I could see the worry etched on her face. It pulled at my heartstrings, but only reminded me of why I needed to proceed. Just a minute, Mom. I'll be right in. I called back, my voice reaching out, but it didn't quite betray the turmoil inside me. I stepped off the porch and wandered down the wooden steps dripping paint. My bare feet thudded softly against the weathered boards of the deck, and without consciously thinking, my body began moving towards the water. The sand felt warm and pliable beneath my toes, molding with each step, but there was an undeniable coldness settling deep in my bones, a chill that was entirely separate from the cooling evening air. I had promised myself I wouldn't cry, yet anger and hurt mingled behind my eyes like a tempest waiting to erupt. As I walked along the shoreline, waves gently lapped at my ankles, cool and refreshing, but that didn't distract me from the pain. Every heartbeat echoed with the image of Nathan smirking as he spilled secrets to my best friend, Claire, the very woman I had trusted more than anyone. I clenched my fists, feeling the familiar heat of betrayal ignite a flame within me again. Nathan had thrown away our love carelessly, exposing me to hurt. What do I have to do? What can I say? I whispered under my breath, though the wind stole the words before they ever reached the expanse of the open water. Just then, I noticed a figure standing in the distance. Squinting against the dying sunlight, I recognized the silhouette. It was Claire. Her wavy blonde hair caught the last rays of sun, glowing like a beacon of everything I had lost. My throat tightened and I felt knots twist within my stomach. I could either confront her right now or let it boil over until it became unbearable. Leela, don't run, I thought to myself, my inner voice battling my instincts, which urged me to flee. This was not an escape, it was a reckoning. I drew in a sharp breath, the briny ocean air filling my lungs, and took slow, deliberate steps toward her. Hey, Claire, I called out, my voice barely above the sound of the crashing waves. I watched her turn, her face momentarily devoid of expression, but as recognition dawned, she plastered on a smile that felt completely false. Leela, oh my goodness, I didn't expect to see you here. The way she said my name felt like a dagger twisted in my heart, hollow and sharp. It was laced with guilt. A rush of conflicting feelings surged within me as I had to tread carefully through this verbal minefield. Yeah, well, I needed some air, I replied, keeping my tone light even if the air thickened with tension. I saw you from my porch. It felt so strange to stand there and act as if a moment like that was normal. I couldn't shake the hurt from my voice. Right, she hesitated, and I watched as her bright eyes suddenly dimmed. I didn't mean to intrude. You know, Nathan and I were nothing, I interrupted, my tone sharper than I intended. How could you do this to me, Claire? After everything we've been through, her expression shifted, the guilt morphed into anger, fury glimmering in her eyes. You know it's not like that. You didn't have the full story. Her words felt defensive, fraying at the edges. Claire took a step closer, trying to bridge the chasm of misunderstanding that loomed between us. I was just trying to support him. He was so lost, Leela. Support him? I echoed, my voice rising over the crashing waves, dripping with disbelief. Support him in what? Betraying me. I could feel heat rushing to my cheeks, my heart pounding with fury. While I stood by, thinking you were my best friend, it was never my intention to hurt you, she cried, her voice shaking now, emotions spilling out like the tide seeking shore. He needed someone to hear him. I can't even believe you would think that. Maybe you should have considered what that would mean for me, I spat back, my vision narrowing. I could barely recognize the voice that came out of my mouth. It was filled with pain, all tangled up in anger. You have no idea how it feels to find out that your boyfriend has been talking to you. I paused, the words heavy and worn, about our intimate moments and insecurities, sharing them like gossip. Claire opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. I saw the realization dawn, a string of remorse tightening around us. I know it's wrong, Leela. I'm sorry. But I thought it might help him heal, and then I thought. Thought what? I questioned, stepping closer to her, driven by a wave of adrenaline. You thought it would drive a wedge deeper between us. I didn't want that, I swear. Claire exclaimed, her voice desperate as she reached out, her fingers brushing my arm. Leela, please. I flinched away. Don't touch me, you betrayed me. Was I just a joke to you both, something to flaunt? My heart was racing, each beat drumming louder than the waves crashing against the shore. The ridiculousness of the conversation cut through my thoughts. It was as if I was walking through a fog, aware of the rising danger yet unable to escape. You don't understand, she pleaded, her hands raised in surrender. Nathan was going through something heavy, I thought. I thought if I could just help him. Help him. I chuckled bitterly, an incredulous laugh that cut through the air. Is that considered help? Spilling me to the one person who should be my ally. The words tasted bitter, like salt water on an open wound. Claire took a deep breath, steadying herself, and it visibly grounded her in that moment. I was confused, okay? I care for you, but Nathan, it just got messy. Messy, I repeated softly, almost stunned. The word lacked the punch of the truth. You don't get to call it messy, Claire. I paused, compulsion tugging at my gut. You hurt me, and for what? Support. And just like that, I felt the resolve in her crack. The light that once shone in her eyes dulled. He's going through so much, I thought maybe I was being a friend. A friend? I repeated, my voice cooler now. A friend doesn't turn on their own, a friend doesn't stab you in the back, you crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. Leela, you're my best friend, she exclaimed, desperation creeping into her voice. It doesn't have to end like this, we can fix this. Fix this? I shook my head. You think we can? You think I'm just going to forget what happened? That I can wipe clean this betrayal because we were friends once? I don't know what else to say, she muttered, her voice breaking down. I thought accidentally discovering Nathan's vulnerabilities was going to make you both closer. I didn't realize it would blow up like this. Neither did I shot back. But this isn't just about you and Nathan. It's everything between us too. The tide of emotions crashed against me, a wave of hurt and anger blurring into one. I have lost something that can never be replaced. Claire took a step back, the sound of the waves rolling behind her as the moon began to rise, shimmering silver against the darkening sky. What if, she started, searching for words, what if I make it up to you? Make it up to me, I repeated, disbelief lacing my voice. How do you make up for breaking someone's trust? I don't know yet, she said softly, but I will try, I promise. I need time, I replied, my voice firm, even though my heart was sinking. You can't just say sorry and expect everything to fix itself like it's a game. I get it, but please do not shut me out, Leela. This friendship means too much to me, she said desperately, the tears threatening to spill from her eyes. A part of me wanted to forgive her, to let her words wash away the pain. But just beneath that surface lay a shadow of my own resolution. I knew that I was standing on a precipice, and all it would take was a single wrong step to plummet into despair. Know that while I may not wish you ill, I may never trust you again. Those words felt like a crushing weight in my chest. With that, I turned on my heel and stepped away from her, not daring to glance back. The soft whispers of the waves pulling away mingled with my heartache as each footfall crunched against the sand, leading me back to my house, and away from the friendship I thought would last forever. I could feel Claire's gaze following me, like an anchor tethered in place to hold me down. But I needed to push forward, toward my plans, my vengeance, not my weakness. When I reached the porch, I stopped at the steps, glancing back one last time before the golden hues of the sunset cast a waning light across the bay. I saw her still standing there like a silhouette, a heartbreaking image burned into my memory. She was lost in shadow while I ventured toward an uncertain light of my own making. While I may be broken, I refuse to remain shattered. I whispered, the intensity in my voice echoing with the promises I had begun to forge anew. As I slipped inside the house, the scent of my mother's cooking wrapped around me like a blanket, but the warmth was lost on me amidst the swirling storm of my thoughts. I need a plan. I need a way to take back control. I couldn't allow Claire or Nathan to have power over me anymore. The thought of what they had done crackled at the edges of my resolve but ignited a fire I had never tapped into before. "Leela," my mother's voice called as I stepped inside. She looked up from the table, a frown creeping across her face. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" "Yeah, Mom." I plastered on the smile again, a shield to mask the turmoil beneath. "Just a lot on my mind. Do you want to talk about it?" She offered, a hint of motherly concern flickering beneath her gaze. "No, but thank you," I said, heart heavy but determined. "Let's just eat." As I sat at the dinner table, surrounded by the savory aroma of home-cooked food, I realized something fundamental. This was a war I was only beginning to fight. I would not let this moment define who I was, nor would I let Claire take anything else from me. I would rise from the ashes of this betrayal, stronger and more resolved than ever. "It's just the beginning," I thought silently, the darkness within swirling with a newfound clarity. "And they won't know what hit them." The air in my apartment was thick with anticipation, a feeling that tightened my chest and made it hard to breathe. I stared at the whiteboard in front of me, covered in chaotic scribbles and half-erased notes. It was a mess, but it was my mess, a beautiful mapping of my revenge against the people who had ruined my life, Jake and his band of thieves. I was a master planner now, and there would be no turning back. Strangely, I felt empowered. My heart raced as I saw the clock tick closer to the time we agreed upon. Judith, my loyal accomplice, was coming over, and I couldn't wait to share my plan with her. We had been friends since childhood, and she knew me better than anyone else. If anyone could help me pull this off, it was her. I heard the soft but urgent knock at the door, and my pulse quickened. I swung the door open to see Judith, her hair a cascade of dark curls, wearing her trademark mischievous smile. "Hey, Leela, ready for some fun?" she chirped as she bounded through the threshold. I could feel the brightness of her energy wash over me like a warm wave. "Fun, more like a carefully orchestrated operation," I laughed, feeling excitement bubbling inside. I gestured her to the living room where the whiteboard loomed like an altar of plans and calculations. "Welcome to my brain," I said, gesturing to the board. Judith raised her eyebrows and laughed. "Wow, this looks intense. Are you sure we should be doing this, Leela?" Her voice carried a hint of hesitation, and I understood her concern. The revenge mission we were embarking on was fraught with risks, but I needed her support. "Judith, I have to do this. You know what Jake and the others did to me?" I insisted, my tone dropping to a more serious pitch. I locked eyes with her, and for a moment we stayed silent, the memories of our shared past unspoken but palpable between us. I remembered the nights I cried while she comforted me, telling me to never let anyone take my power away. "All right, I'm on board. Let's dive in," she finally said, showing her unwavering loyalty. My heart swelled with gratitude. "Thank you. Okay, here's the plan." I pointed to the first note on the board. "The hook. We will need to get Jake to an old hangout of ours." "You know the one near the cliffs? It's perfect," I explained, feeling a gathering storm of adrenaline. "He hasn't been back there since you know." Judith's eyes widened. "You mean the place where we all used to hang out, where he betrayed you?" "Exactly. It will bring back memories, and I can use that." I felt a fierce satisfaction at the thought of turning the tables. "But how will we get him there? I mean, he's not going to come willingly, is he?" she asked, folding her arms as she leaned against the wall, her posture suggesting the seriousness of our convo. "Leave that to me. I have something planned," I said, brushing my hair behind my ear. Even I felt a little nervous at the possibilities swirling in my mind, but I couldn't back down now. "Just breathe. Imagine him standing there in that place under the weight of his guilt." Judith bit her lip, clearly processing everything. "What's the next step?" asked after a moment, and I felt a surge of confidence. Phase 2, the setup. I picked up a pen and began sketching out the details on a piece of paper. "I need you to be the bait. We can use the fact that you two had some chemistry back in the day." Her eyes darted around nervously, but she nodded slowly, absorbing the idea. "Me, but won't he see through that? We were friends, and I've even told him I'm not into him like that anymore." "Exactly. He'll be drawn in thinking he has a chance." I smiled sweetly as I imagined the look on his face when we pulled it off. "And what if he blows up on me? What if he realizes it's a trap?" Her voice shook slightly, and I could see the doubt creeping into her mind. Still, I had a solution. "He won't. The beauty of this is he still thinks you care for him, even just a little. You can make him feel like he has another shot. Trust me, Judith, I've got this all figured out. I could see the fire brewing behind her eyes, and it gave me the last push I needed. All right then, let's do it. What's next? As I explained the details, every word felt more potent than the last. I painted a vivid picture of how Judith would lead Jake to the cliff, and how I would set up a dramatic confrontation. The surge of anxiety inside me now transformed into an exhilarating thrill, one I felt coursing through my veins like electricity. And when he's there, I will reveal everything, I said, eyes gleaming with determination. I will make him understand how he shattered my life. Judith nodded, her jaw clenched with resolve. We are in this together, right? I mean, it's not just you versus him. Absolutely, it's us against them. We will show them that we are stronger than they ever thought we were, I declared emphatically, feeling a strong bond solidifying between us. The tension in the room began to dissipate, replaced with a sense of camaraderie, a shared understanding that we were embarking on this challenging yet exhilarating journey together. When do we put this plan into action? Judith asked as she studied the board, her fingers tracing the notes. I felt my lips curve into a mischievous smile, and I grabbed my phone to check the calendar. I needed everything to align perfectly with our timeline. We do it Friday night. It's almost the weekend, and everyone is more relaxed then. It will be easier to lure Jake out, especially since he tends to hang out with the others. Judith nodded, already thinking ahead. And we should probably tell a couple of our friends to back us up, just in case. Smart thinking, I said, and I began jotting down names. Let us ask Maria and Ben. They will be solid support. With a plan starting to take shape, my mind raced as I started envisioning the climax. The moment of oaths, truths unearthed, and vengeance meted out. I chuckled to myself at the thought, confidence buzzing through my body. In that moment, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. Okay, Judith said, calling me back from the depths of my imagination. So we have our plan, but what if things go sideways? I mean, revenge, it's a dangerous game, Leela. Her voice was gentle yet firm, warning me against getting lost in the thrill. I appreciated her concern, though it felt unnerving to hear it aloud. I get it, Judith, but I'm prepared. They think they can get away with shattering my trust and humiliating me. I can't let that stand. This is my chance. I allowed myself to sink into the whirlwind of emotions that had driven me toward this point. Frustration, anger, and a fierce need for justice coiled tightly inside me. Judith's eyes softened as she took a step closer, her voice softer now. Just remember, it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel vulnerable, just don't let it take over. I let her words wrap around me like a warm blanket, grounding me. I promise you will be there with me. I won't lose myself. Okay, she said, her smile returning as we shared a solidified understanding. Next step, we get to work, right? The two of us spent the next hour planning out every possible scenario, our laughter echoing off the walls as we plotted and whispered our way through the details. Our late-night brainstorming session became a whirlwind of ideas, and I felt empowered knowing I had someone like Judith by my side. As the night drew closer to dawn, I could feel my excitement bubbling over. I whispered, "This will be our finest hour," and for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to believe it. I swallowed my hesitation and embraced the thrill of the chase. The intoxicating pursuit of sweet revenge. My heart raced as I stood outside Hector's office, the clinic's fluorescent lights flickering above me. Sunset Bay was quiet this time of day, the only sound being the gentle lapping of the waves against the shore just a few blocks away. I could almost smell the salt in the air, mixing with the faint odor of antiseptic that came from the health center, a constant reminder of why I was here. I took a deep breath, knuckles white as I clenched my phone in my pocket. The screen glowed softly, a silent confirmation of the text I had just sent to Julia, my ally in this twisted plan. It read, "I am here, time to finish this." My stomach churned, an unsettling mix of excitement and dread. Hector Alvarez, I muttered under my breath. The name felt foreign on my tongue, yet it carried a weight that I had been preparing to confront for far too long. I had spent months planning this moment, and there was no turning back now. The anger I had felt toward him was a simmering pot, ready to boil over, and today it was my mission to spill that scalding liquid all over him. The door to the clinic creaked open, jolting me out of my spiraling thoughts. It was Dr. Jensen, an older doctor whose kind eyes and gentle demeanor had always made me feel at ease. "Leela," he said, tilting his head in curiosity. "What brings you here? Everything okay?" I forced a smile, the kind that didn't quite reach my eyes. Yeah, just looking for Hector. Have you seen him? My voice was steady, more confident than I felt. Dr. Jensen's brow furrowed slightly. He should be in his office at this hour. I hope you don't need anything too urgent from him. You know how he can be. He chuckled lightly, but I caught the hint of reluctance there, the unspoken truth that was as clear as day. Yeah, just something personal, I replied, trying not to give away the storm brewing inside me. With a nod, he gestured toward the hallway. Second door on your left, he said, subtle concern etched on his face as he continued down the corridor. I took a moment, standing still, feeling the walls close in around me, the sterile environment sinking its claws into my skin. This was it. I'd come all this way, endured sleepless nights and numerous doubts, and now I was about to confront the man who shattered my life, the man who had manipulated and bullied everyone in his path. Would I find the strength to do what I had planned, or would he see right through me and disarm my resolve? My footsteps echoed in the hallway, the sound loud in the enveloping silence. With each step towards that second door, I could feel my adrenaline kick in, pulsing through my veins and catalyzing my courage. I reached for the handle, feeling the cool metal beneath my fingers, and pushed the door open with a deliberate thrust. Hector's office was small and cluttered, papers strewn everywhere, the blinds pulled taut against the sun. He looked up from behind his desk, surprise flickering across his face before shifting into something more sinister. Leela, he said, his voice dripping with a feigned warmth that made my skin crawl. What a pleasant surprise. Pleasant. I echoed, stepping further inside, closing the door behind me with a soft click. You wouldn't know pleasant if it slapped you in the face. Do you have a moment? He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms, his expression shifting to mild annoyance. Depends. I have patients to see, but if you need a quick chat, I can spare a minute or two. Quick chat? Really? I could feel my anger boiling just beneath the surface. You think everything can just be brushed aside like that? His eyebrows shot up, pretending to be surprised. Leela, you sound a bit aggressive. I'm not sure what this is about, but I'm happy to talk. Happy to talk, I mimicked, my voice laced with sarcasm. That's rich coming from you. Let me guess, this is going to be about how I should have just trusted you and accepted your manipulation as some kind of twisted gift. Manipulation, he scoffed, leaning forward with interest. Now this is intriguing. What exactly are you accusing me of? The walls felt like they were closing in around us, my heart thundering as I prepared to pull the curtain down on his facade. You think you can dodge the consequences of your actions forever, I asserted, my voice steady but laced with emotion. You took advantage of me and you know it. I want you to hear it from me. I am done being a pawn in your game. He chuckled lightly, shaking his head as if I were nothing more than a child throwing a tantrum. Leela, let's not get carried away. I merely helped you realize your full potential, and now look at you. You have a good job, you've built a life for yourself. Surely you can appreciate that. A good job, I repeated incredulously. You mean the job that you handed to someone else because of your thinly veiled jealousy, the position that was rightfully mine? His expression hardened for a brief moment, the mask falling just a fraction. That was merely business, Leela. You have to understand that in this world, it is eat or be eaten, and I was just looking out for the clinic's best interests. Best interests? Your best interest, you mean? I shot back, anger coiling like a snake inside me ready to strike. You were never interested in my growth, Hector. You only wanted control. You enjoyed watching me squirm, didn't you? He narrowed his eyes, his demeanor shifting once more to that of a predator assessing prey. You are being dramatic. This is not how we should be conversing. Dramatic? Is that what you call the truth? I stepped closer, the distance between us evaporating. I found out you had been going behind my back, spreading rumors to the board about my ability as a nurse. Do you think I would stand by while you ruin my reputation? I did no such thing, he said coldly, shrugging. And honestly, it's not my fault if you can't keep up with the demand here. The board is only doing what they think is right. I know better. I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls. I know exactly what you have done. You manipulated everyone around you to paint me as incompetent. I had to work twice as hard just to prove myself while you sat back and watched. He didn't even flinch, merely raising an eyebrow at my outburst. I think you are letting your emotions take the lead here. You might want to consider your next words carefully. I could very easily send you packing. Send me packing. I taunted, my heart racing as I reveled in the confrontation. You made every effort to make sure it was you who would thrive while I faded into the background, but I am not going to let that happen anymore. You may have thought I was smaller than you, but you are wrong. You only made me stronger. The corner of his mouth lifted in a mocking half-smile. And how do you plan to prove that? I took a breath, steeling myself, every fiber of my being ready to unleash the truths that had tormented me for so long. You're going to hear me out, Hector, I declared, channeling my nervous energy into a fierce resolve. You have a meeting coming up with the board, and I have some interesting information I'd like to share with them. A little evidence of your dark little schemes. His eyes narrowed suspiciously. What are you talking about? Oh, did you really think you were safe from me? I challenged. I have evidence of your misconduct, emails, recorded conversations, all the little secrets you thought were buried deep. Is that a threat? He asked, leaning back again, masking his discomfort with bravado. Call it whatever you want, I replied, striving to keep my voice steady. But when they see how you've been treating staff and mismanaging the clinic, your little reign of terror will come crashing down. His lips twisted in a sneer, but I could see the pulse of uncertainty in his eyes. You think you can just waltz in there and ruin my reputation with your childish games? Children's games, I laughed, the sound ringing with the joy of triumph. This isn't a game. This is your reckoning, and I am not playing around anymore. You made me doubt myself, but now I reclaim my narrative. Hector leaned forward, his eyes cold and calculating, the mask slipping back into place. You think you can outsmart me? I've been in this business long enough to know how to handle rebellious employees. Dragging me through the mud will only muddy your own hands, Hector, I countered. And it will cost you maybe even your job. Are you really willing to risk it all to keep me down? He stared at me, the silence stretching between us like a taut wire about to snap. Then he shifted, a strange tension blossoming in the air. You have no idea what you are getting yourself into, he said, his voice lowered. People like me do not fear the likes of you. Fear, I echoed, hating how my voice shook on the word. Fear has never been what drives me. Justice does, and I will make sure that the board hears everything you have done before I let you keep your power. People will always believe the one in charge, he barked, defiance darting in his voice. You think you can change their minds, they will listen to me. Then let's give them a chance, I proposed, my determination building. You and I could be honest, have a real conversation. You can try to twist the narrative or shed a light on your true nature, but I know they will see through you. He inhaled sharply, the temperature in the room shifting like a storm about to break. You are a foolish girl if you believe you will succeed in this little gut check. The nerve in my chest tightened, but I forced my bravado to the surface. Maybe I am foolish, or maybe I am clever. We will find out soon enough. I'm not the same person you broke before. I walk back into that boardroom ready to challenge you, unafraid and fierce. You underestimated me then, and you will again now. For a brief moment, Hector's composure cracked, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability beneath the bravado. Women like you scorned do not win. Watch me, I said, the words igniting a fire within me that had once seemed impossible to rekindle. His sneer returned, but I could see something different there, a hint of fear. You'll regret this, Leela. Regret. I laughed back, invigorated by the confrontation. Not a chance, I'm just getting started. And with that, I turned on my heel, striding from Hector's office with newfound strength cascading through me. The world outside awaited, where I would reclaim my voice and expose the truth. I had a mission now, and this was only the beginning.